Crisis and creativity. This week, a year after President Trump called the government response to Hurricane Maria tremendous, we'll look at the truly tremendous response of Puerto Ricans and how the innovative schools and services that emerged in the absence of government aid just might point a way to a more inclusive, independent Puerto Rican future. That's all coming up on the Laura Flanders Show, the place where the people who say it can't be done take a back seat to the people who are doing it. Welcome.
I'm Edgar Gomez. I work with the municipality of Toa Baja. I work with the Municipal Institute of Cooperativism and Participatory Communities.
Here we are in summer 2018 at the New Economy Coalition's CommonBound conference in St. Louis. Tell us about your town and what happened when Hurricane Maria hit.
Well, we're a medium-sized city. We have 80,000 citizens. And well, it was the most devastated city in Puerto Rico by Hurricane Maria. 50% of the city was flooded, and we are talking 10 to 12 feet of water flooding. So it was hit pretty hard.
Tell us a little bit about what that was like for you to go through, and what was your job at that point?
My job is to organize the communities in the municipality of Toa Baja. So basically we go out, we look for community leaders and try to explain what's the situation, to work on transparency.
Because you work with the mayor's office.
Yes, with the mayor's office of Toa Baja.
And you have a fairly interesting mayor.
Yes, indeed. He's in the cooperative movement for years, and right now he's like, okay, we have to think outside the box to solve the crisis that is happening in Toa Baja.
And he hadn't been mayor for very long when the storm hit.
No, he arrived at the city hall at January of 2017. So we had like 9 months exactly when Hurricane Maria hit us. So
his was a surprise victory when he ran for the mayorship.
Yes, he was the underdog. It's the correct word. All the political party, his political party was with the other candidate. So he was there with the unions and with some community leaders, sport leaders, and that's it. That was his support. But the people came out. The people said, no, we had enough of what happened here in Toa Baja, and we need a change.
So here you are, brand new mayor. You're the community organizer guy. Maria hits your community from three directions, the ocean and the rivers, and the sky. What do you do?
So we're saying all hands on deck. Like at that point, we have cameragraphers, we have everybody, and we said, okay, leave whatever you have, and we have to go down to the communities and help people to get out of their houses because they're flooding. And we've been all these hours like helping people, and I have one image in my mind that's, it's branded there. Like we were in this military truck and we were helping people up, and this firefighter said, we have to prioritize. And we're like, what do you mean by that? And he just turned around and said, okay, women and children do a line here, like old people do a line here, and men, you have to wait outside. And that's the moment that you say, oh, this is real. Like, you're not prepared for this. And that was the level of the crisis that we were having at that moment in Toa Baja. So it's a changing situation. Like, people still affected by that. And now we're here 10 months after Hurricane Maria, and we think, okay, it has passed, we can rebuild from this. But no, when it start raining, the kids go running to their moms and it's going to flood again, mom. Do we have to leave the house? So now we're trying to rebuild not only the houses, but the people, the spirit of the people after this situation.
The spirit of the people showed itself in these 10 months. We've all heard, or at least many of us have heard in the United States, that neither the federal government, the government in Washington, nor the local government
Mm-hmm.
were really able to respond to the crisis, or chose not
Yeah.
to respond adequately to the crisis. Your community managed how?
Well, I was telling you yesterday, like 3 days after Hurricane Maria, we were at this basketball court and we were prepared to receive the aid because we said, well, this was bad, so help must be coming in that way. And okay, FEMA's here. Like, okay, what are you bringing? I will have one pallet of bottled water.
FEMA brought one pallet
One
of water.
pallet, and we were like, we just evacuated 4,000 people, and you're bringing us one pallet of water. What are we supposed to do with this? So this is not enough. So the immediate reaction of the mayor was like, okay, we have to get in touch with the local business owner. They should be able to help. And that was the action. We went to the local supermarkets, local pharmacies, local markets, and they were like, okay, yeah, have this, just distribute it. Well, we started to repackaging. You get 24 bottles of water in one package, and usually you give one to the family. No, we had to open up and do 3 or 4 bottles package so we can go out and distribute. We didn't have enough hands. We didn't have enough cards. So people start showing up at the basketball court and we're like, hey, I haven't received my water. Hey, I haven't received food. What are you doing with all these things? And we're like, hey, we cannot go out to every house. But you know what you're going to do? Go to your community, do a list of all the peoples of all the houses that you have, and write what you need, what they need, and come back and we'll give it to you and you can deliver it. And at first it was shocking for people, and then people start showing up like, hey, they told me like I can help to deliver the things in my community. We have old people in the community that can come out. Can I do it? Yes, just give me your name, and that's how it started working.
You create through this process a cohort of leaders, of organizers, of contacts in the regions of your city. But you'd already built a system of sort of self-governance around your election. Talk about that.
That's true. When we arrived to government, we found out that the municipality have a $208 million debt. So
$208 million debt for how big of a population?
80,000 people. We had a huge bad administration problem, and we were like, okay, how are we going to work with this? How is people going to understand it? And we said, well, we have to communicate it to people. And we organized the first municipal assembly. So we told everybody, come, and we want to explain you what's been happening here in Toa Baja. It was amazing. The 400, more than 400 people show up. People understand it. People start to see the how bad the situation was, and started to give solutions.
So we've been talking very local, and your story is fantastic, but it also, it seems to me, puts a kind of, it flips the script on the U.S. Puerto Rico relationship. I know that you think about these sorts of things and the colonial context in which this whole relationship exists. What are you making of it? What are you making of this experience?
First, it has put Puerto Rico on the spot.
Yeah.
Like everybody that didn't know Puerto Rico existed, now at least in the United States, have seen Puerto Rico. At least they're like, okay, do we own that? That's our? So at least that question is being made. And from the south of Puerto Rico, there's a movement, or I hope there's a movement in Puerto Rico to search for a more dignified, respectful relationship with the United States. So far, this 100 years, we've been very docile on our relationship with the United States. And after Hurricane Maria, people, and not all politicians, like people from the communities, the grassroots community, were like, okay, why haven't we received the help? Yeah. Why are they treating us that way? This relationship is not about charity. It's about respect. It's about dignity.
And is that what you're finding in this peer-to-peer relationship with co-op people?
Yes. It's completely different when you're talking with people here in the CommonBound, Americans that see us as an equal, see us as United States citizens and human beings. And when you talk with bureaucrats of the federal government, that they see like, but do we really need to help you? Our mayor always said, Toa Baja is a microcosmos of Puerto Rico. And Puerto Rico is a microcosmos of the entire United States. We are in a crisis, economical crisis. We are also in a personal, spiritual sort of crisis. Like, people don't know what they want. People don't know how are they going to manage to end, or what they're going to do with their lives. So if we in Toa Baja can look for different ideas, different ways of managing the economical crisis and the personal crisis, so at least there's an outlook, or a better outlook for Puerto Rico, and maybe we can be example for other communities and other cities here in the States and around the world.
The deaths the day of the hurricane are one thing. Every death after that has to do with not having the appropriate medical conditions, not having the appropriate sanitary conditions, not having the appropriate health conditions, not having the appropriate food or water intake. Those are deaths related to Maria.
Does the president still think his response to the hurricane in Puerto Rico deserves a 10 out of 10 score, now that estimates say almost 5,000 people died there?
The federal response, once again, was at a historic proportion. We're continuing to work with the people of Puerto Rico and do the best we can to provide federal assistance, particularly working with the governor there in Puerto Rico, and we'll continue to do so.
Peter, any concern about the massive volume of the death toll there?
The administration came out in support of
People here are starving. Some people have died from dehydration. People here are drinking contaminated water. We need tools to survive in the immediate sense.
Nosotros hemos enterrado, pero son de muerte, ¿verdad? De condiciones que tengan condiciones. Claro. Pues se han enterrado ya algunos. Del huracán para acá, yo creo que pueden haber de 10 a 12 muertos enterrados.
¿En esta zona solamente?
En esta zona nada más.
Bueno, yo sinceramente he escuchado que lo que hay es cadáveres. Y he escuchado con gente que de verdad pues se pasan aquí, rondean aquí, y sé que lo que hay ahí son cadáveres. Porque ahí no va a haber, créeme, no va a haber ni pollo, ni chuleta, ni nada. Lo que hay son cadáveres. Han sido bien irresponsables en cuanto a manejar el manejo que llevan.
People are drinking from creeks or from rivers where the animals are dying. We already had some confirmed deaths of leptospirosis, which usually you get when rats urinate in places, but also when animals die in the same bodies of water that people are drinking from. We already have scabies and conjunctivitis and gastritis at alarming rates. And if you're not well hydrated and you don't have access to the appropriate medical attention, a gastritis can kill you. We still don't have the basics. Things that are essentially human rights. The United Nations say all humans should have access to drinking water.
All of our donors who support independent, unapologetic, unfiltered media by going to pronthemap.com, hashtag PROnTheMap on Twitter, and following us on Facebook. Donate, share these stories, and continue to learn more and uplift the rising up of Puerto Rico and the people of Puerto Rico.
Alternative education is very important in Puerto Rico because we can create a curriculum based in our dreams and goals. The curriculum in Puerto Rico was created based on the industrialization era, and now we are in information one, and it's very, very different. Traditional is more found in individual development, and alternative is based in collective development, and I think that is a huge difference.
I come from public system, and definitely it was like follow this, follow that. If you're too intelligent, you might not fit in. If you have functional diversity or any special need, you might be discriminated. Not all schools, but some schools. It's too colonized what we are taught, and it can be too narrow. And in our place, they get to relearn or speak about things they had in their mind and were not recognized. And like I said, fill the gap of the need for education that they cannot pay. It's definitely important now more than ever, since so many schools are closing. My son's school is closing actually. And definitely there has been more need, and people have been asking us, hey, can you facilitate in the South? Can you facilitate in Vieques? Can we make a collaboration? They've been asking like for training. People from other smaller organizations are saying, we wanna, even though they don't wanna make an educational project, they say we wanna work our meetings in a participatory way. And we wanna do it the way you do it in your classes, because it's like horizontal, and it seems like you fight less, or you don't fight, or you get along better. That's why the committee grew up also. So, and that's why we need to make even more collaborations, so that people, yes, can train themselves with us in some way, and then repeat that on their places and on site. And I know Nuestra Escuela.
Yes, in our case, we are working very hard in healing stress post-traumatic, because many of our students lost families, and some families travel to United States, and some families are now broken, and some families lost their jobs, and too many lost. In that way, we design a workshop. It's a long-term workshop, working with the healing, but throughout different ways, alternative ways. For example, we are working with music therapy and yoga classes, and also we are rethinking our model, because the country changed. And if we are an alternative school that responds to the necessities of our people, we have to rethink everything. But now we are working very intensely to support the cooperatives between our graduates, in order that they can really get money, enough money, to sustain their own lives. We don't want to reproduce capitalism. I think that for a long time, topics like economic, democratic, sustainability, and social solidarity are topics for adults get, and it's not too open to youth people. And we, in Nuestra Escuela, we assume the responsibility to socialize this topic, not only with youth. Education in Puerto Rico looks like space where the students and kids has voice and have a guideline relate to the country that we want to create, because now we are just learning because somebody think that is good for me to learn about that, but not necessarily is the learning that I want to get in my life, and not necessarily is useful for the Puerto Rico that we want to create. And education process looks like one that respect the diversity, and we can talk about that in the classrooms. Now is unavailable. I don't want to use prohibited because I think that always teachers has their voice to talk about they really want. School has to be the space where students really can participate and be prepared to the country that we really need and we really want, not the country that we have, because we are not satisfied with the country that we are living. And I think that all Puerto Ricans are agree that we can have a better country, and also that we have the capacity to build it. And the school has a very important role. And I think that we have to assume our responsibility like educators and prepare the youth and the kids for the Puerto Rican that can be.
We need to be able to reclaim our real history. They give us Puerto Rican history class for so many years, but they just repeat the same story, almost the same story. And so many people have been invisibilized. And also we need to learn about the history of the Antillas, the Caribbean, because it's all interrelated, and that gives us a strength. Like, oh, my Caribbean brothers did the same as I did. Let's go on. Also, as Yris was reminding me not to forget, we need the education to be free and accessible. Some people will say, oh, the school system is not working anyways, close it down. And I'm like, no, because if we don't even, yes, the system needs to transform, but if we don't even have it, what am I going to transform? What am I going to develop? I can't, because I have nothing. It's charter school or private schools, very expensive schools actually. So where do I go? And yes, then it goes to the question of then reclaiming some of these schools that are going to be abandoned, creating new curriculums and creating safe spaces and reclaiming knowledge of what we knew about, for example, things we knew about the land, things we knew about the plants, things we knew about the medicines, things we knew about how to cook, basic things that have been taken away from us, and they have just given us junk food, for example, in a place where you can grow food any time of the year. I think education also needs to be a place with social justice in mind, and definitely, like she was saying, a training that you can actually go out and maybe build a co-op with your other comrades. That would be beautiful if you went out of high school or something like that and were able already to build a co-op. If we could all work together, it would be more sustainable, the educational project. I mean, that's the big dream. That would be the big dream, that we were able to think about education again as a community and collective effort, not parents on one side or adults who are jubilees on the other side, and teachers away from us. Is a collaborative effort, especially on kids, because they say it takes a village to raise a kid. I learned that here. So going back to that village thought, but not repeating all gender roles, not repeating racism again, not that. Just a new village that can give us freedom, and yes, a accessible and free village. Because we, like she says, we have the resources, we have the minds, we have the tools. We might even have the money, but maybe they don't give it to us, maybe they will. But it's more than that. We need, again, our self-esteem. We need, again, safety also. We need safety to develop these things, and to keep standing up against all the historical oppression that we have gone through. Ay, gracias.
Mm.